So today we're talking about, we're giving a bit of an interactive guide to selecting various different approaches to growth internationally through test centre networks and remote proctoring as the main topics. I'm joined by Ceri Harper from our Test Delivery Services team and Sam Wray. Both, Ceri, you've been working for BTL how long now?
Over a year now.
Okay, so you're kind of well embedded in this.
Oh, absolutely.
You're no longer,
absolutely.
You can't blame that newbie. You've got a substantial background in test centre activity, haven't you? You've been working in various different areas of this.
Yeah, from being actually as part of a test centre, invigilating in a test centre, and also from the sort of awarding body customer side, using Surpass as well.
Excellent. And Sam, likewise, you've been with us for a few years now, haven't you?
Just over 3.
Excellent. And you came from one of our partners, I
yes,
think,
from one of our suppliers. So I manage the supply network for that supplier, sort of managing the BTL exams. So I had quite a lot of knowledge before I joined BTL.
Yeah. So both of you have got experience both from working within BTL and also from working with Surpass as kind of the wider activity. Now we are talking about test centre networks, online invigilation, paper-based testing. We're kind of intrigued. This is an interactive event, so feel free to ask questions. So, are you delivering tests globally? Where are you delivering them? Are you delivering them to particular providers? Are you managing that yourself? Tell us. There's a chat option by the side of the view. Get telling us. The other thing that I'm really intrigued to know is that we talk about online invigilation because we try to be very British about it, but obviously there is remote proctoring, and people also then blend those up. So I'd like a little bit of a straw poll today. What's your preference? Do you prefer online invigilation, remote proctoring, remote invigilation, online proctoring maybe, or anything else? Do you just call it something else? So do let us know. And if you've got any other questions as part of this, this is your opportunity to quiz the guys. I'll be quizzing them. So don't just leave it to me. So first of all, then we're going to talk about the test delivery services. So that's the kind of all-encompassing group. What is it? What's your offer?
I think the key thing is that we provide customers with tailor-made solutions to suit their business needs. So whether that's providing access to a global test centre network or obviously a secure online invigilation service. I think the key thing we've recognised is that organisations want a secure environment, however it's offered, and with the correct facilities and processes, because ultimately the key is to ensure that the candidates have a very smooth exam experience.
And it's important for that candidate, isn't it? Because we spend a lot of time creating the best technological experience for the candidate, but the environment in which they take the examination needs to be a rock solid, award-winning environment, really. I say award-winning, but that's something we should look out for.
And we have to make sure the operational processes are in place that ensures that smooth delivery for them.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So we do a blend of mix. So we've got people who are taking tests in a physical centre network, and then we've got the online invigilation approach. Just talk me through the kind of differences between those two. What are the different client requirements in that?
I think when it comes to the test centre management, I mean, at the moment currently we do sort of the full preparation for exam day. It's session-based exams at the moment with regards to, and high-stake exams with the test centres. I think by offering our managed service for that, then there's an awful lot involved, not just the exam itself. It's the booking, the planning, well in advance of all the exam series, really. So,
and our scale has grown considerably on this, haven't they? So
totally.
The team that's supporting that, just talk me through that.
The team started as 2 people, well, 1 person, then 2 people, and now we are a team of 5. We've brought in some very experienced people that cover, obviously, key part is administration. So we've got team members that just focus on the daily admin and exam day admin. Obviously, Sam's managing the actual delivery service itself. And when we have a member of the team that's very much focused on supplier relationship as well for all our test centres. So making sure that we are covering all their needs as well as the customers as well.
And we can spin up more people to support as part of the remote proctoring side of things?
Yes.
Can't we? So,
Yes. So we have a team sort of for support in terms of, we'll get to this later, but reviewing the exams, sort of invigilating live and sort of record and review versions. So yeah, we have a team sort of on sort of temporary basis that we have each exam session with the current customers that we have on board.
Because it's like anything with examinations throughout the year. There's peaks and troughs, aren't there? So we've grown that core unit, and we're able to add to that when we need to, aren't we? So it's quite
although
a strong
there's
thing.
getting less and less sort of troughs.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's becoming more and more steady as she goes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So tell me more about the test centre network then. The actual kind of physical network. What kind of locations are we talking about?
Well, we are global, so we have test centres now that range from Kathmandu, Myanmar,
Abu Dhabi,
Singapore, Dubai,
Hong Kong.
Yeah. So as you can see on the map there, that there are available test centres. So globally, it does cover many regions, and UK based as well. We cover all the main cities in the UK, large towns. But I think it's quite interesting that our capacity can range from a small centre of 4 to a large centre of 150 plus. So it's really helping to cater for the candidates as well, who might be in more remote places.
There might be some people out there already have some form of network, but there's areas that they want to reach that they just don't have it established. You'd be more than happy to chat with them about the idea of co-supporting their existing
Absolutely, yeah. And, as an addition to test centre, if you have candidates that are in a remote area that, over an hour plus to get to the nearest physical centre, that addition there is for online invigilation, and, we can discuss that. Definitely.
We did an article recently about clustering of kind of areas. So, the idea that you might set up within a particular town, and that would be a hub for a town or city within a particular country. But there's going to be people who are unable to travel in. So, blending the idea of the physical network and the remote for those that are too disconnected from that kind of hub, the city hub, is a good approach, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So there's plenty of opportunities to do that. So let's talk in a bit more detail then about, we've got some facts here about the centre network. So, centres in over 100 countries, nearly 300 audited centres. So what do we mean by audited centres? What does that mean?
Well, I think the key thing is obviously standards need to be met and quality is very important. So for all of our actual test centres, a physical visit.
Yeah, so we undertake sort of in the UK, we personally go do that. Undertake a facilities audit to make sure they meet standards for JCQ, which is our sort of basic requirement. We have our own standards too. Sort of compliance as well, security, physical security. We don't want any random person walking on an exam day to make sure those are in place. So we also do, in addition to a physical audit, a technical requirement audit. So that's to make sure all the machines, either a PC or laptop, meets the minimum requirements to run Surpass Secure Client.
And the screens, I know we talked about this before, but the screens and barriers, and you've got kit that can be provided to anyone who doesn't have that physical structure in place. And that's quite good for pop-up centres as well, isn't it? So, or centres where you've got certain capacity but has the ability to span out for examinations. So a laptop with screen equals nice pop-up centre.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we talk about it being part of the Surpass community. Those who don't know about the Surpass community, basically everyone who is using the Surpass platform we consider to be part of the Surpass community. We like to share and engage and collaborate, and we've got a lot of people who work together on feature developments and services. But if you're not part of that and you are still interested in these guys' services, then please do get in contact. And there's a particular area, as we'll come on to later, which is for those that haven't quite made it into the on-screen testing world, something you might be really quite interested in. So we've got test centre supply. So it's a partner network, isn't it? So you're working very closely with multiple partners as part of it. We've seen some incredible volume increases, and some good-looking volumes for this year as well in the forecast. And like I say, it's one of the largest centre networks in the UK. And that's all managed through BTL, isn't it? So
Yes.
just talk us through the importance of that. Really, this kind of contract management. Does it, particularly with online invigilation, when we've got these multiple organisations popping up, have we seen people expressing an interest in us because we manage everything for them? Has that been a significant part?
I think,
absolutely. Because I think the key thing is we can work with our customers and obviously source locations that we may not have. But I think the key is we can make it we can make it a very smooth process for the customers and the candidates, and that's our focus basically. I think quality with regards to the actual environment where candidates will be taking the exams to actually how the exams are offered. So, we can take care of all the training for the invigilation staff at our test centres, which is very important to us. We can, on exam day itself, we are monitoring exactly what's happening at every single centre, be it UK or globally. Our team are there accessing the sort of all the centres to check that exams have started on time, and so it just allows the customer to know that everything is taken care of and they don't need to be concerned on exam day, really.
And in addition to that, any invigilation used for online remote proctoring, however we want to call it, they're all trained to any specific requirements set, agreed by the customer.
Yeah.
There are standards that we make sure that they're trained to.
And I suppose in a way you don't go in with a tailored no, this is how we do it in terms of security checks, and this isn't. Everyone has their own personal flow, doesn't it? So what is acceptable? What isn't acceptable? The IDs that are acceptable.
We work with customers, and we have standard sort of training documentation and process documentation, but we're very happy to adapt that to what is required for different exams, no problem at all.
And a lot of people do loosely follow the ICE guidelines from JCQ as being the kind of standard, don't they? But some people do have variations on that to suit their candidate needs. So it's important to know that there is that flexibility. So is it fair to say that someone could just turn up to you guys and say, right, I want to deliver in these regions, deliver my examination, built it in Surpass, can you help me facilitate that? And you would go away and work that out for them.
Absolutely. And it starts from centre recruitment, then looking at the bookings required, working with our centres to make sure that there is availability. And it's just a full process. And then the key thing, as we've said, is training staff, and technical testing as well that Sam's mentioned previously. Yeah.
And it's important that those things work, aren't they?
Yes.
So we've talked about the kind of test centre network. I've got one quick question I'm going to ask you before we just go into online invigilation. Please do tell me your views on online invigilation, remote proctoring. I'm keen to know as a marketer.
So am I.
Also, when you do, tell me where you're from, because I'm intrigued to know is it just the UK audience that think about online invigilation? Is it Americans, or is there a European community that think about remote proctoring? So tell me about that. I've got a quick question for you. Do you deliver to secondary schools? That's from Gareth. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
The thing that stood out to me, and I'm glad Gareth asked this, because I was thinking the other day, within schools, you've got exam officers and there's an infrastructure in place there, but it might be that some schools or organisations need that additional support as part of that network, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
So, we've got Gareth, we've got your details. We might inquire a little bit more about that one. So whether you're offering your services or that's something you can help with, I think that's a good point. Okay, so online invigilation. Just give me a bit of a kind of what is online invigilation?
So online invigilation is it's an additional service we offer now. So it offers flexibility to candidates, obviously especially those, as we discussed, in remote areas that find it difficult to get to physical centre. It's sort of online software. It's 3 sort of streams of recording. So we have 3 elements. So we've got screen share, we've got a webcam and mobile view, and that's sort of towards the security of the exam, and it monitors any potential malpractice that might take place. There's 2 ways of invigilation. So we have what we call live invigilation or record and review. So live invigilation is where they are literally watched live. We work again with customer that if any potential incidents might take place, we work with customers that if they want the candidate to be warned about that, but we always make sure that that's noted in what we call a violation report. And then record and review it's not a live record as such, but it's reviewed afterwards by our reviewers that we have on board with us. And they note down any incidents that take place, and that's then sort of forwarded to the customer to then make a decision on how they deal with that. A report is provided, and if we what we call a RAG status, so if anything's red, which is sort of serious malpractice, then you, as a customer, has access to review the footage and make that final decision yourself.
Okay, so we've got a little video to kind of go through. So this will kind of help just kind of reaffirm some of those points that Sam was making. So it is about in your own environment, for the candidate. So and obviously that needs to be a suitable environment with internet connectivity, but it can be home, it can be in the workplace. Workplace is probably one of the preferable ones. There are a series of ID checks which are undertaken because it's important to verify the candidate's information. Now, obviously, verifying the information, it relies on the centre or the awarding organisation knowing the candidate in the first place. So there's a degree of flexibility in that, but it can be as simple as holding ID up to the camera for that to be recorded, and that is attached to the recording file and the audit file. Now, you mentioned about multiple cameras. What's unique about our product is the idea of having this using the smartphone. So you sync the smartphone with the exam experience, and then you can then use that both for checking the environment, because the environment checks are quite important as part of the examination process. You need to make sure that there are no secret pieces of paper hidden away or answers on the wall. There's no people sat in the room. And I must admit, when I've been trying this, it's a lot easier to do this with the camera, because if you're relying on the webcam on the device to do these security checks, that can be quite a cumbersome affair, especially putting a laptop against your ear to check in. The reason why they do that is so that they can check for earpods and listening devices as someone's talking through the examination. And then the camera is then used as the kind of second camera in the room. So you've got the webcam of the candidate. That's just showing them. The smartphone is then capturing the examination, and they can continue with that examination with multiple kind of views of the exam experience. So that's me in a nutshell, just kind of running you through that. We'll have a look at it in a little bit more detail, but what have we? To what extent have we delivered online invigilation exams so far through this process?
So this initially happened last year with a current customer called ACT. So to date, we've delivered 4 very large exam sessions successfully. We've got their upcoming the largest ever in April, and then we've also got several pilots coming on board. So they might include customers that currently use the Test Centre network, and in addition to that, new ones that they've sort of want to just tailor to the online invigilation service that we offer.
And I think with this customer, it's helped them extend their offering to a global audience. It has, so they can, some of their customers had to travel long distances to get to a test centre, so it's been a great advantage for them.
Yeah, it's been a really good way of kind of widening it out a little bit, hasn't it? And there's a number of pilots going on with other customers as well, so that's all some good building activity in this. And there's going to be an article coming out soon where Janet from ACT talks about that's the Association of Corporate Treasurers. Sorry, apologies. There's too many acronyms in this business. Janet's going to be talking about their experiences and what they've learned so far. So it's worth having a read of that. And if you do get to the assessment question, then please do get along to that session. What I noted when I was talking through with one of the solutions guys here was that how our approach to all the communication coming from ACT. So it's not like they're being hit by another provider with another piece of, we've tried to be sensitive to the candidate about information and instructions coming from the awarding organisation. And that is something we can accommodate, because you don't want, suddenly this funky company sending you lots of emails about an important examination that you've never heard of. Surpass is obviously well known within the assessment community, but the candidates themselves, all they know is the awarding organisation. So what have we learned from the candidates' feedback so far? What kind of experience have we had with that?
We've seen some sites.
Keep it clean.
Candidates in pyjamas.
Yeah.
Well, if you're comfortable.
Well, we want them to be comfy.
Yeah, we do say
absolutely.
be comfortable.
I mean, I think as a whole, I think the experience, you often think, well, they feel like someone's like looking at them. But I think from the feedback we've received, they kind of just forget that. In their eyes, they're sitting there, they're focusing, they're doing their exam. And they just quite like that, here it is, I can do it. And they're not actually that put off. I think once you're doing the exam, you kind of forget that you're being watched, really. So, which is good.
I heard one about a cleaner walking in on the examination. It's quite funny. And I suppose that's with the live and recorded review, there is the opportunity that if something like that does happen, then the live situation and the live invigilator could just query that just to make sure it wasn't kind of a cheating episode. But from because it was the footage that I'd seen for that. Even the record and review footage was quite clear that someone was going to clean the bin out. We've been talking about. I know because obviously we tried to support as part of the marketing effort. Because people have been balancing their smartphones. Not everyone's got.
I know, on books, on pillows, and sometimes not being very successful. It's taken a while for them to get it set up. So,
but the idea we've come up with is a little kind of card, postable card stand, isn't it? And that, obviously, a nice addition to that is you can put instructions on it to help the candidates part of the process. Even I think this is a genius idea. A door hanger to go, a bit like you get in hotels. You can put on saying "Do not disturb exam."
No more cleaners.
No more cleaners. We've got a few questions for you, which is always good. So Daniel asks, do you deliver invigilation exam services to medical facilities such as hospitals? So this could be something they could do?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Daniel will be in touch with that one.
That's another one.
But I suppose it's all about having the internet connectivity.
It is.
As long as the facilities meet the specifications really in the offering, then that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. We have a so this is from Laura. We have a computer facility where students are seated very close together, which is obviously a bit of a thing from learning environments. You want them to interact. They would only need to avert their gaze to see the next screen. Would live invigilation be suitable for that? I suppose it wouldn't necessarily. It would capture them looking, wouldn't it?
Well,
yes, it would. And I think if there's a lot of that sort of going on, I think that would be highlighted to the candidate. That would be one of what we call the violations that would be listed.
But I think as you mentioned, that one of the things when you are reviewing is you do actually notice when someone is looking in a certain direction, so it would probably get flagged up a lot easier.
Because that's particularly from the record and review, because that's played back at a slightly higher speed, isn't it?
Yes.
And I always talk about the film Hunt for October, where they were detecting the Russian sub. Sorry, tangent here. But if you listen back at the, it's not a whale noise; it's a mechanical noise. But the record and review, by having that repetition, you can see that someone is doing something regular basis.
Absolutely, yeah.
So some good questions. So I suppose also the pop-up cards might help with that situation more as well. So if you are interested in having some of those screens. There is also, I know in the kind of HR teams here have those 3M screen diffuser things as well. Obviously.
Yeah, you can get those as well.
They're not too cheap though, I don't think. I have looked into that as an option, as a giveaway product, and unfortunately,
but
they're not cheap. But they're
is another option. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think the benefits are of online invigilation then? What?
Lots. I think. Well, the benefits really are.
It's a cost effective for customers.
Yes.
And, there's not sort of test centre cost. More flexibility for customers. It can provide a really great 24-hour on-demand model, which obviously test centres aren't open 24 hours. it's sort of more comfortable for the candidate, you know, their experience, either in the workplace or at home.
It's less time away from to escape, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's often quite difficult if someone is in the workplace and just to take the time out, you know, to get yourself to a centre. You can be like a full day out of the office, whereas if you were able to do it remotely, then you could just say, I'm doing this exam for 2.5 hours and go into another room, and then you're back to work. So. And
the other thing is, when you go to an environment that's foreign to you in terms of examinations, and it can be quite daunting if you even a slightly different mouse and the way it moves and the speed that can throw you off. So in effect, this is bring your own device, isn't it?
Yes.
In an examination setting. So and everyone knows the capabilities of their devices. If you know it substantially to be troublesome, then you please do go and find another device. But it's important that you have a good experience. But so there's some good benefits. Anything else which kind of stands out to you in terms of benefits of online invigilated examinations?
Well, obviously we've mentioned as well the reach that it can give, as you know, that is key, really. And
that's been one of the big draws, hasn't it?
It has, absolutely.
I know there was a case where some people were trying to delay examinations in North Korea. Now, I know things have eased off a little bit there for the moment, but it's still an awkward place to get invigilation staff in. And also you've got that trust element. I'm not saying that North Korea is untrustworthy, but there are places around the world where you can't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get high quality kind of staff, particularly in training centres where you've got that mix of someone who's delivering the training course and is doing the invigilation. So, just to have that additional option of putting the candidate in an online invigilated examination, it's a perfect kind of step towards giving yourself a bit more kind of trust. So just on that security side of things, should we just talk through the kind of it's always a question that people have about online invigilation. How secure is it? Can we trust it, etc. So I suppose in a way, a kind of traditional, there were some of the early products that came to market around online invigilation were just basically, it's almost like Skype, wasn't it? It was just a webcam approach. With our solution, you've now got this second camera looking across the room as part of it, so you've got that additional eye within the examination, which I was also thinking was quite good for if someone wasn't cheating, but it wasn't obvious from that one camera view, then you've got the reassurance, and it's fairer then, isn't it, for the candidate?
No, completely,
and then you've got the content itself. You can see what it is they're interacting with, and then over the top of that, audio, we're capturing and listening to the audio that's coming in the room, so you can detect if there's
any talking,
chatting,
anyone entering,
any kind of noise. There's the support of the chat with the monitor, the invigilator, isn't there? You mentioned earlier about the triggering that chat, even if you're in.
Yes, so if it's a record and review exam taking place and somebody, for example, did start to get connection issues, the chat support will sort of move that onto what they call a live session. So it won't be record and review anymore. They will go live with that client, that candidate, to make sure that they can get their exam up and working, or if they've got any other issues with that they're worried about. The only one they won't sort of help them with is any exam content or format of the question. As that is in the test centre network.
As it is everywhere else, isn't it? And it's nice to have that support there, isn't it? Because invariably there'll be something, even if just reassurance to know that everything is operating correctly. It's good for the candidate.
Some people just need that.
Yeah, they do. Storage-wise, what's nice about the process is that all the information is captured. So as part of the examination, all the recordings are captured and can review back at any time as part of it.
Even live.
So it's handy for that quality checking, quality reassurance, and I suppose it gives everyone the reassurance that there is some evidence out there, either way, if there was an issue. And I suppose independence and the fact that you're using our network and your experienced partner structure gives the reassurance that there isn't that collusion between the trainer and the candidate in the examination. Because even a subconscious observation of an examination is going to influence your teaching and therefore influence the results, doesn't it, going forward? And that could actually be counterintuitive, because if it's an adaptive test, it might not actually help at all. It could end up giving wrong information. The risks, there are risks with all examination delivery, and what method and approach you take really depends on your situation and your qualification of those risks and what you're prepared to accept. I think we've seen some very recent articles and experiences, particularly in America, with the College Board scam that's been going on at the moment, where people have been paying invigilators to as part of the examination process, and that's quite part of a wider issue with college admissions. And then I think there was an article yesterday I saw where kids were actively coached during the SAT tests in primary schools. Unfortunately for the school, particularly the lads seemed to come out and shout around the playground, they helped us cheat, they helped us cheat. So you don't get much of that going on. But it's all about how you manage that risk, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And over and above, we've talked about online invigilation. Surpass obviously has some additional features within it that can help. So if you have a fixed form test, then obviously that's probably the hardest, or probably the least secure, because all the items are in the same format and the order. What you can do is spin that up a little bit by reordering the questions. I know some psychometricians don't like the idea of even reordering questions in the test, but I think you have to take some steps towards this. And then there's reordering randomly the answer options within the actual questions themselves. If you've got a bigger item bank, then obviously you can have multiple fixed forms, and there are reports and services within Surpass that can help you balance out those results and scale scoring and things like that. So you've got that consistency across the cohort, even though people have been taking different tests. If you've got even more items, then you can go down the route of linear on-the-fly testing or loft. And if you want to get really spectacular and funky, then please do talk to us about adaptive testing, which gives you really kind of personalised adaptive routes, which a recent ATP session I attended where they talked about cheating in examinations, that really does start to get quite interesting in terms of stopping the candidate from cheating. So there's some good measures in there. We mentioned that there's two types that go on, really. We mentioned the idea of malpractice during the examination, so someone actually cheating, but there's also the idea of item harvesting, which people need to be aware of. People are out there gathering questions so that they can use that as part of the information process. And I do remember seeing quite an interesting video by one of our customers where someone had recorded, this is their previous exam experience, the exam had been recorded and then was available on YouTube. It wasn't in Surpass, I'm going to put that out there. And they put it on YouTube, but put classical music over the top of it, all the questions, so you could scroll through and listen to classical music as part of it, which I thought was delightful.
Yes.
We've got a couple of questions coming. So there's a question from Shane about language support within Surpass. Now, I know within Surpass itself, we've got quite a substantial amount of languages that are supported, and there are some additional language support options within the online invigilation item as well. But Shane, I think what I'll do is I'll contact you directly about that, if that's okay. So there are lots. I'd be interested to know which languages you're particularly after, so we can see if we can support that. What is your experience with SEND students? So this is from Andrew. I know this is a topic that's very close to Andrew's heart. Now, the examinations that we've delivered so far with ACT and online invigilation, that's been to a particular audience. But I know, Andrew, we've been doing some work, and you'll have seen at the recent Surpass conference all the work we've done around 508 compliance. So a lot of that is down to how you build a test, because making it suitable for special educational needs and disabilities isn't just about the platform, is also about the items as well. So our accessibility team is something that could actually support and help with that. So if anyone is out there with certain accessibility needs, then please do get in contact with us, because we can put you in touch with our dedicated team that works on that. So one last question off the board here. So how do you prevent malpractice in remote invigilation exams versus traditional invigilated examinations? Is there any substantial evidence to support this conclusion that things are more secure or equally secure? So that's from Daniel. I suppose evidence-wise, it's still a growing area, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and there are. I manage the special interest group for the E-Assessment Association on remote proctoring, and to date, at the moment, I think it's like 25 companies out there providing remote proctoring services. And I'd like to see a bit more evidence coming through, but I suppose for our experiences, it's getting involved in pilots are an important part of the process, aren't they? So I think in terms of the evidence, Daniel, it's still, the jury's still out in terms of nobody's really done any massive fact-finding tours, although it has been a big thing in America for a while, so that's a good place to start looking for the evidence. What about those people who are kind of not quite ready for on-screen testing? So we've talked about adaptive, we've talked about these funky forms of delivering online invigilation. What about if you're still using paper? What can we do to help you there?
Well, actually, we are currently in the process of working with a customer to deliver our first managed paper-based exam session. Yeah.
There is multiple exams to manage in that one session, and
Yes.
it's as I said earlier, it is a challenge. It's new to us, but as I said, we're adapting our processes to best serve that, and to meet all the requirements that are needed for it.
Yeah.
So paper's not dead yet, is it? In the
Absolutely
examinations?
not.
No.
I think there's no stats for me to call on this, but I would say probably still talking 50%, if not more, of the examinations around the world are on paper, aren't they? And paper, if you get hold of a copy of it, teacher observes it. As soon as that paper's been printed and put in front of a candidate, then it could be considered to be exposed in a way, isn't it?
Yes.
But it's still a requirement of some of the examinations, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we found it quite interesting because in respect of venues to hold for the paper examinations, we've actually been sourcing different types of venues to perhaps what we'd use for e-assessment. So it is more open space, chairs and tables, and so it's kind of opened our eyes to other options of venues as well. So it's been quite interesting.
And I suppose one step, because one beautiful thing about Surpass, and I work for BTL, and Surpass is our beautiful product, so I'm going to say this, is that if you do start authoring your tests, you can create your tests for paper-based delivery as well as on screen. So you could start down the route of the vast majority of it being paper-based, work with you guys to help you facilitate that independent paper-based testing. Because I suppose that's a step up from having your training centres delivering and managing the examinations, isn't it?
Yeah.
So by turning it a little bit to an independent provider like us to do that, and then you could start trialling some of those tests being delivered through on-screen environments. So using either the network or whatever the structure of the examination, online invigilation. So there is some steps that you can make towards that, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. Our current customer at the moment is kind of doing a mix, aren't they?
They are,
So,
they do.
Of both.
There's a requirement for both.
And Andrew just makes a quite interesting point on the chat here that invigilation budgets are being cut left, right, and centre. So I think there's an opportunity, a real opportunity, where technology can step in to help and support the examination process, to keep it robust, keep it reliable, keep it independent, keep it secure. So there's no reason why you can't have an invigilated mass exam using an online online invigilation solution.
And one of the questions I have been asked quite often is, can I, still do any format of exam in, remote invigilation? Can I have rest breaks? Can we have additional time? Can we have our stop the clock function in the schedule base? Yes, whatever you can have in a test centre network based exam, you can have online invigilation as well.
And that's a really interesting point, because that's something that cropped up at the E-Assessment Association Special Interest Group discussion we did on this, was how do we, everyone was kind of a little bit hung up on toilet breaks. It's still a different risk, isn't it?
It is completely.
And I suppose one approach to that is to let's start really thinking about how we turn examinations on their head, so that it's not just the knowledge recall exercise. I don't know if you've seen, some of you have seen some of the examinations that we deliver, simulations, they're kind of performance-based things. So people are actively problem solving within the examination. So it kind of doesn't matter that you leave the room, go and look at a book. I'm not saying that it's the case, but when you come back to the examination, it's still reliant on you actually solving a problem. So the more we can take people away from that kind of traditional mindset, move people away from paper where you can't do some of these things, and provide them with adaptive problem-solving examinations, and that's something we're really trying to push here. So I like to think we've got an excellent service that can cover every angle. We can cover paper if you need that. Yep. We've got that traditional test centre network set up. If you want to start looking at online invigilation or remote proctoring, which I've not had a kind of definitive result from you, so I'm quite disappointed. Come on. And then you've got the next steps around adaptive, and that's actually going to form part of one of our next webinars that's coming up in May. So please do stay tuned out to that. We'll look at more of adaptive as well. So for now, thank you for listening. Thank you for all your fantastic questions. We've had some really good questions come through today. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my guests, Ceri and Sam.
Thank you.
If you have more questions for Ceri and Sam, their email address is on screen. You can also contact the marketing team at marketing@btl.com or go through all the usual social media channels. We really do want to hear your views and thoughts and reflections on this. Lots of questions for us to come back on. And if we don't see you soon, hopefully see you at one of these events coming up soon. So take care and thank you for watching.
Thank you.